Chen-Okafor stared at the pregnancy test like it was a particularly offensive piece of modern art. 2 pink lines. In a world where human fertility had been extinct for 23 years, 2 pink lines was basically like finding a unicorn doing taxes. Well, this is either the universe's idea of a joke or I'm about to become the most scientifically interesting person on the planet, she muttered to her reflection in the cramped bathroom mirror of her micro-apartment. Spoiler alert, neither option sounds fun. Outside her window, Singapore's vertical farms stretched into the smoggy sky, their bioluminescent crops casting an eerie green glow over the city. At 23, Maya was quite literally the youngest human alive. The baby boom had ended abruptly in 2064 when fertility rates didn't just decline, they flatlined. Globally. Overnight. The scientific community called it the Great Silence. Maya called it the reason she got weird looks at parties. Her neural implant chimed with an incoming call. Zane's face materialized in her peripheral vision, his enhanced memory architecture making his dark eyes seem to hold entire libraries. "Morning, Fossil," he said, his Pakistani accent warm with affection. "Ready for another day of being humanity's favorite statistical anomaly?" Maya tucked the test into her jacket pocket. "Actually, I think my anomaly status just got upgraded." Before she could explain, her apartment's security system activated. Red warning lights bathed her living space as the AI announced in its annoyingly calm tone, "Unauthorized biological scan detected. Please remain stationary for health verification." "Health verification?" Maya backed against the wall. "I didn't request any." The door burst open. 3 figures in pristine white uniforms swept in, led by a woman with platinum hair and the kind of smile that suggested she dissected things for fun. Chen-Okafor, the woman said, consulting a tablet that definitely wasn't standard consumer tech. "I'm Dr. Anya Volkov, NeuroGen Corporation's Director of Biological Research. We need to talk." Maya's hand instinctively moved to her pocket. "About what? My sparkling personality? My reviews of vintage Netflix shows? The way I make synthetic coffee taste almost like the real thing?" Dr. Volkov's smile sharpened. "About the fact that our biosensors detected elevated HCG levels in your system during your routine environmental scan this morning. Levels that, according to every piece of scientific literature written in the past 2 decades, should be absolutely impossible." The room felt like it was shrinking. Maya's neural implant buzzed with Zane's increasingly frantic messages, but she couldn't focus on them. All she could think about was how this morning she'd been worried about paying rent, and now she was apparently carrying the future of the human race. "So," she said, forcing her voice to stay steady, "hypothetically speaking, if someone were to be pregnant in a world where pregnancy is supposedly extinct, would that someone be in danger?" Dr. Volkov's tablet chirped, and her expression shifted from predatory interest to something closer to reverence. "My dear girl, you're not in danger. You're the most valuable biological specimen in human history. NeuroGen has been waiting 23 years for someone like you." "Waiting," Maya repeated slowly. "That's an interesting word choice. Almost like you knew this might happen." The doctor's pause lasted exactly 2 seconds too long. "The human body is remarkably adaptable. Evolution finds a way." Maya's enhanced pattern recognition kicked in, a side effect of her own neural modifications. Dr. Volkov's micro-expressions, the timing of this visit, the way her security system had been bypassed so easily, it painted a picture that made her stomach turn. "You know what's funny?" Maya said, slowly reaching for the door. "I've spent my whole life being told I'm special because I'm the last kid born on Earth. But nobody ever explained why the birth stopped so suddenly. Almost like someone flipped a switch." Dr. Volkov's smile disappeared entirely. "Miss Chen-Okafor, I really must insist you come with us for your own safety." "Here's the thing about being the last of anything," Maya said, her hand finding the door handle. "You get really good at survival." She triggered her apartment's emergency protocols and the lights cut out. In the confusion, she slipped past the NeuroGen team and into the building's maintenance tunnels, routes she'd memorized during her paranoid teenage years when she'd realized being unique also meant being a target. As she crawled through the narrow spaces between the building's walls, her neural implant finally connected to Zane. "Maya, where are you? Your biometric readings just went haywire, and there are NeuroGen vehicles surrounding your building. Remember the conversation we had about how convenient it was that fertility just stopped right when neural enhancement technology went mainstream?" she whispered. "The conspiracy theory you developed when you were 19 and chronically sleep-deprived? Yeah, well, turns out sleep-deprived 19-year-old me might have been onto something. Also, I'm pregnant." The silence on the other end stretched long enough that Maya wondered if her implant had malfunctioned. Zane, I'm here. I'm just processing the fact that you've managed to become even more of a statistical impossibility than you already were. His voice shifted to the tone he used when accessing his enhanced memory banks. Maya, if NeuroGen is involved, this isn't just about you being pregnant. This is about why no one else has been. Maya emerged from the maintenance tunnel into the building's underground parking garage. The pregnancy test crinkled in her pocket as she moved, a constant reminder that her life had just become exponentially more complicated. I need to find out what they did, she said. What they did to everyone. Not alone, you don't, Zane replied. I'm accessing my archived memories of NeuroGen's early research now. There are gaps, Maya. Deliberate gaps in the historical record around 2064. She found an old electric scooter someone had abandoned and hot-wired it with practiced ease. Then we find those gaps, and we figure out how to undo whatever NeuroGen did to break humanity. As she rode through the neon-lit streets of Neo-Singapore, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that she was carrying more than just a baby. She was carrying the weight of every person who would never be born, every family that would never exist, every future that had been stolen by corporate greed. The test in her pocket felt heavier with each passing block. Dr. Volkov's private lab existed in the kind of chrome and glass sterility that screamed expensive ethical violations. Maya crouched in the ventilation shaft above, watching the doctor prepare what looked suspiciously like a dissection table. You know, Maya whispered into her comms, when I imagined infiltrating a corporate conspiracy, I thought there'd be more lasers and fewer medical instruments that look like they belong in a horror movie. Zane's voice crackled through her neural implant. I've been analyzing the memory fragments I recovered. Maya, NeuroGen didn't just accidentally cause infertility. They engineered it. Below, Dr. Volkov was joined by a woman in an expensive suit whose neural modifications glowed blue at her temples. Executive-level enhancement. Maya recognized her from corporate news feeds. Noor Patel, NeuroGen's VP of Strategic Development. The Chen-Okafor girl has vanished, Patel said, her accent crisp with frustration. 23 years of waiting, and she slips through her fingers. She'll return, Dr. Volkov replied, calibrating a scanner that looked like it could see through walls. Maternal instinct is powerful even in someone who doesn't understand what she's carrying. Maya's hand moved instinctively to her still flat stomach. These people talked about her pregnancy like it was their personal science project. Explain to me again why we can't simply synthesize what we need from her genetic material, Patel said. Dr. Volkov's laugh was sharp enough to cut glass. Because 23 years ago, when we introduced the fertility-blocking nanobots through the Neural Enhancement program, we designed them to be irreversible. Every human on Earth carries them now integrated into their brain chemistry through their implants. The girl is immune because she was born before the rollout. Maya felt the world tilt. The Neural Enhancement program that had supposedly elevated human consciousness, that had ended war and poverty and crime, it had been a delivery system for sterility. But why? Patel asked, echoing Maya's thoughts. Why destroy human reproduction? Population control was never sustainable through traditional means, Volkov explained, pulling up holographic projections of global demographics. Too much resistance, too many variables. But if you could convince people that enhancement was progress, that being connected was evolution. She gestured to the projections. In 50 years, when the enhanced generation dies off, Earth's population will be perfectly manageable. A few billion instead of 12 billion. And NeuroGen controls who gets to reproduce, Patel added. Exactly. Maya Chen-Okafor isn't just naturally fertile, she's our proof of concept. Her child will carry genetic markers we can replicate, but only in subjects we choose to treat. Maya had heard enough. She dropped from the ventilation shaft with all the grace of a bag of hammers, landing hard on Dr. Volkov's pristine floor. Well, this is awkward, she said, dusting herself off. Here I thought you were just garden-variety evil scientists, but you're actually the architects of human extinction. Both women spun toward her, but Maya was already moving. Her neural implant interfaced with the lab's security system, a trick Zane had taught her for exactly this kind of situation. You know what's funny about being the last child born on Earth? Maya continued, backing toward the emergency exit while the lab's systems began shutting down around them. Everyone assumes you're fragile, special, in need of protection. Dr. Volkov reached for a weapon, but Maya had already triggered the lab's decontamination protocol. Foam began spraying from the ceiling and emergency lights bathed everything in hellish red. But here's the thing, Maya shouted over the alarms. Being the only kid in a world of adults means you get really, really good at breaking things when no one's looking. She'd uploaded everything, research files, correspondence, financial records to every major news network and social platform simultaneously. Within minutes, the truth about NeuroGen's fertility program would be trending across the globe. "You've destroyed us," Patel screamed, her executive composure finally cracking. "No," Maya replied, her hand on the exit door. "I've given humanity a choice. Your nanobots might be irreversible, but now everyone knows they exist. And funny thing about humans, we're really creative when we're angry." As she escaped into the Neo-Singapore night, Maya's implant buzzed with incoming messages. Scientists offering help. Protesters demanding NeuroGen's dissolution. Parents who'd never had children finally understanding why. Zane met her 3 blocks away, his face grave with concern. "Maya, even if we expose them, the nanobots are still active in everyone's systems. How do we reverse 23 years of engineered sterility?" Maya pulled the pregnancy test from her pocket, staring at those 2 pink lines that had started this whole mess. "We don't reverse it. We work around it." "What do you mean?" She looked up at him, this man she loved who would never father children through any natural means, in a world where an entire generation had been robbed of choice. "I mean, we find other people like me. Pre-enhancement births who might still be out there, hidden or forgotten. And we make sure that this time, when humans start having babies again, it's because they choose to, not because some corporation decided they were worthy." Zane's enhanced memory banks were already working, accessing global birth records from before 2064. There might be others. Rural areas, populations that resisted early neural enhancement adoption. "Then we find them," Maya said. "And we build something better than what NeuroGen destroyed." As they walked through the neon-soaked streets, Maya felt the weight of her pregnancy differently now. Not as a burden or a miracle, but as a responsibility. She wasn't carrying the future of humanity, she was carrying proof that humanity still had a future worth fighting for. The test crinkled in her pocket with each step, a small sound that somehow felt like the first note of a much larger song. Behind them, NeuroGen's towers blazed with emergency lights as the world learned the truth about what progress had cost them. And ahead, somewhere in the darkness between the vertical farms and the endless sky, lay the possibility that being the last child born on Earth didn't mean being the last child, period. It just meant being the first of the next generation to know the truth.